Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Hello, good evening, welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Anuyusabata Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com, also on YouTube at TV3 Ghana. Coming up tonight, Ghana Armed Forces response to concerns over the fatal helicopter crash 1 week, exactly a week ago, as the Defense Ministry promises transparency and investigations will dig deeper into the issues raised by the Chief of Defense Staff at that press encounter with the executives of the Ghana Journalists Association earlier today. Stay with us. Also, the New Patriotic Party commiserates with the NDC over the tragic helicopter crash that claimed lives, 8 lives, including the party executives and 7 ministers of state and also military officers, while distancing itself from distasteful remarks made by some foot soldiers of the NPP. Stay with us on Ghana Tonight. Former Vice President and NPP flag bearer for the 2024 elections, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, says he is ready and has declared his intention to contest the flag bearership race, urging party members to look beyond the presidential primary. We've got details for you here on Ghana Tonight as well. There's a fire outbreak as well, sometime somewhere in the Volta region. We'll give you an update on that shortly. Here on Ghana Tonight is one that we're keeping an eye on how things are playing out as well. Here on Ghana Tonight, we'll get through and give you some more updates on that. Plus, also, as we've been monitoring and also observing the reactions 1 week on after we lost these gallant Ghanaians as a result of that tragic incident, the crash of that helicopter of the Ghana Air Force, and what the Chief of Defense Staff has been saying. We'll have some security analysts as well as a former Ghana Air Force captain also joining us to share his thoughts with us. But here's what we do know, and this news just coming through before we get into Ghana Brief. A multiple number of shops at Nogora Junction in Ho, the Volta region, have been destroyed in a fire incident that occurred earlier this evening. Now, the fire incident, which began few minutes before 6 p.m., spread through some restaurants and boutiques on the stretch, causing significant loss to the owners. Now, that's the information as we got not too long ago. That is we're keeping an eye on how things are playing out in there. We understand the fire outbreak has been brought under control as of the time that our correspondent gave us this update. But this is the information as we have it. This incident that happened earlier this evening, specifically in Ho, and we're keeping an eye on it because the Ghana Fire Service has been able to attend to the fire and brought this fire under control, but this was after the fire spread to adjoining shops and destroyed some property, we understand, running into thousands of Ghana cedis. That is the information that we have from the Ghana National Fire Service correspondents from the whole station, and my colleague and our Volta regional correspondent is going to be joining us to give us an update on the happenings in that particular area. But this is the information that we got earlier today. We're keeping an eye on how things are playing out in that area. We'll give you some more updates on this. But this fire outbreak, we understand, started at around 5 p.m., a little over 5 p.m. And then also got to the early hours of the evening, and you see the traders and the owners of these shops that were affected by the fire outbreak salvaging their wares and what they could retrieve from this fire outbreak. So that is the information as we have it right now. And Faisal Idris is going to be joining us shortly. He is our Volta regional correspondent to give us update on this rather unfortunate incident. Faisal Idris is joining us right now from the Volta region. In fact, the fire scene at Nogora Junction in Ho, the Volta region. Faisal, what's the update on this fire outbreak? We're just getting information on.
Good. Alfred, so the fire incident started somewhere this evening, just a few minutes to 6 p.m., we were told. And so the occupants of these various shops raised the alarm and invited the fire service to come in to help them. Within some 2 hours, a very difficult time for the Ghana personnel of the fire service who had been on site to put the fire off. When we spoke to some of the eyewitnesses on site, they told us that at about 5:30 thereabout, while the shops were almost opening, because these are the business, this very area is the business enclave of the area, very close to the Technical University. And so we did that period while they were just about opening the pubs and restaurants around. Then they realized that there was smoke coming from the back of one of the eateries. And so they raised the alarm. We did a few minutes, about 6 shops were caught in the fire. And before the fire service would arrive, the Nogora pub, which is a very popular pub in Ho, was completely razed down. One of the boutiques on the stretch completely razed down, another boutique partially razed down. Then, of course, a printing press on the stretch has also been affected largely, including one other restaurant. What we are told by the shop owners is that even though they are not able to tell us the exact amount of money they are losing, from the look of things this evening alone, their investment worth millions of Ghana cedis has gone into this very unfortunate fire incident. We'll be speaking to a number of them. Let's listen to exactly what they have in terms of accounts regarding the fire incident before we talk to slide.
We were actually in a bar doing some works, and then one of the sales girls came shouting that there was a fire outbreak at the back. So we rushed there. So we came back into the shop to come and pick fire extinguisher. But by the time we got there, the fire was way beyond the fire extinguisher stage. So we had to start calling the fire service people to come in. So we called them, within 10 minutes they were here, but they couldn't off the lights. So the water, when they started dispatching the water, we realized that there was an electric shock, so they had to stop. So we had to call on ECG to off the light before they could off the fire. We are sure it's electrical fault because there was no cooking gas or anything there, so it should be an electrical fault.
We'll get light, then all of a sudden the light will go off. We'll get light, then all of a sudden we'll rest. But thank God that I was there by myself. So I just moved out of the boutique. Then the next moment I came, then there was whole fire everywhere. As in smoke, dark, the room became dark. It means something is burning. So before I will start coming out, calling people, Charlie, there's fire everywhere. This particular area, we've been having that kind of problem. It's a serious problem that light goes off, light comes in. There's several times that I've really repaired my air conditioning, I've really repaired my fridge. Basically, if we can talk of damage, we are talking about.
And Faisal, we know that the fire service were at the scene to put off the fire or to bring it under control. What have they been telling you?
Yes, so from the accounts of the shop owners and eyewitnesses, they are telling us that the suspect this might have been caused by some electrical faults around. They mentioned also that they've been experiencing intermittent power outage in the area for a very long time, including today. But the officers from the Ghana National Fire Service have been telling us that it is early days yet. They only came to put out the fire and unable to tell us the exact cause of the incident. They have indicated also that in the coming days, they would be going public with the exact cause since investigations have just started. Let's listen to the municipal commander who had spoken to us earlier.
6 containers were involved in fire outbreak. So quickly we have to, because of the intensity of the fire, we have to run 2 deliveries, which is to share the fire spread. And as early as possible, we try to bring the fire under control. But it took us over 2 hours because of the intensity of the fire. So now we can't give you the cause of the fire. Investigation is underway.
And so that's the fire service update on that. Faisal, I know that you have eyes on this one. We'll visit the fire scene tomorrow morning to also understand the extent of the impact of this fire. I appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for bringing us this update.
Thank you, Alfred.
Faisal Abdul Idris is our Voto regional correspondent. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs now.
The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General William Ejipong, has mounted a strong defense for how his men handled last week's search and recover mission following the helicopter accident. He maintains that his men did their best under the circumstances given the resources available.
In our case, when we suspected that something might have happened to the aircraft, it took us additional 30 minutes for us to apply the known protocols to see where the aircraft was. Because once an aircraft loses communication, it doesn't mean that it has crashed. It could be flying very low, out of radar. It could be weather condition, or it could be mechanical. So after 30 minutes, once we realized that we were still not making progress, then we initiated what we call the rescue efforts, because we still didn't know whether there were casualties.
As the nation continues to mourn the tragic loss of 8 gallant servicemen in last week's military helicopter crash, the disaster has brought into focus serious gaps in Ghana's military readiness. Our armed forces are struggling with aging aircraft, limited logistics, and deep systemic weaknesses that threaten operational safety. Security analyst Emmanuel Coting has described the state of the forces as pathetic.
If you look at the Ghana Army in general, it is relatively lightly equipped. We don't have any main battle tanks, no self-propelled artillery at all. We don't even have any defense system mechanism in place. So you realize that the Army, as we speak, we have to really thank our men and women in uniform. They are doing so well with very minimal support in terms of equipment.
The New Patriotic Party earlier today extended its condolences to the National Democratic Congress in what they describe as a moment for national unity. The party's leadership also expressed solidarity with the bereaved families and called for collective support during this difficult period.
We are overwhelmed with your warm reception to our team. I think this is the first time New Patriotic Party has come to your office. And it's rather unfortunate that we didn't come at a good time. But it should also mark the beginning of a friendly and cordial relationship between the NDC and the New Patriotic Party.
A globally respected figure in Catholic leadership and peace building, Cardinal Peter Turkson is urging prophets to first seek God in prayer and intercession when they get devastating prophecies. According to him, seeking divine intervention in response to such damning revelations should be the first port of call for any prophet.
The first consequence is to speak with God himself, especially if the content of the prophecy is about disaster or evil or something that may befall. Since you may not have the chance to immediately communicate with whoever is concerned, your first thing, therefore, that you do is you intercede with God about what is happening. God, if it's possible, avert this. This is actually what Abraham did when God shared a story with him about destroying Sodom and Gomorrah.
The Bank of Ghana says it will hold top executives accountable for risky lending decisions as it works to align Ghana's banking sector with the highest international standards. Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama outlined the new measures during a meeting with commercial bank heads in Accra as part of his post-MPC engagements with relevant stakeholders.
This opens a window for you to re-examine your lending strategies. You have to broaden your access to credit, and you have to support private sector-led growth while still managing your risks prudently.
And also live here on Ghana Tonight. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and also on YouTube. That's TV3 Ghana. So it's probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, and Sasso Insecticide Spray and Call Kumtum Precom. Coming up next, the Ghana Armed Forces break their silence on the fatal helicopter crash, with the Defense Ministry assuring full transparency. Now, we unpack the key concerns and the responses as well on this particular issue and the latest development on this as well. And we'll hear right now, the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General William Japan, has mounted a strong defense for how his men handled last week's search and recover mission following the helicopter accident exactly a week ago. Now, he maintains they did their best under the circumstance, giving the resources available to them at the time. And that's instructive. So talking about the resources available to them at the time, that is what they could do. Take a listen to him.
In our case, when we suspected that something might have happened to the aircraft, it took us additional 30 minutes for us to apply the known protocols to see where the aircraft was. Because once an aircraft loses communication, it doesn't mean that it has crashed. It could be flying very low, out of radar. It could be weather condition, or it could be mechanical. So after 30 minutes, once we realized that we were still not making progress, then we initiated what we call the rescue efforts, because we still didn't know whether there were casualties. So the closest military post at that time was the team that had gone to secure the helipad to receive the team, to receive the helicopter. And they were as far as Obuasi. It took them some time to get to the scene. By that time, the locals who were at the scene had already started interfering with the crime scene. It was in a thick forest, it was getting late. We had the option of leaving our remains there till the following day, and we know what could have happened to the bodies. So the team that was up there assessing the situation decided to use available material they could lay hands on to start to descend the high ground. In the morning when the aircraft was taking off, nobody expected any such disaster. But from the crash to Accra, it's possible, likely, that some things might have been done that were not in conformity with our culture. But I must tell you that those who are on the ground assess the situation, and from where I stand and looking back, I think that they did the best with the resources that they had at hand.
Well, so that's the Chief of Defense Staff there. So he acknowledges that it's possible that some things may have been done not in accordance with the culture of the military. But then again, given the circumstance, his men did the best they could do under the circumstance. Exactly a week ago, we were hit with this disaster that claimed the lives of 8 gallant Ghanaians, as we've called them. We're not forgetting about them anytime soon, and we will not forget the lives that they lived and the impact they made in the development of this country and on their families as well. This is how the events played out exactly a week ago. Take a look.
I have the unpleasant duty, sadly, to announce a national tragedy involving the crash of a military helicopter this morning around the Ocansey area in Ashanti region. Government regrets to announce the demise of the following persons in the tragic crash: Dr. Edward Kofi Omane-Boamah, Minister for Defense; Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Muhammad, MP, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology; Alhaji Muniru Mohammed Lemonad, Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator and former Minister for Food and Agriculture; Dr. Samuel Sapon, Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress; and Mr. Samuel Abuaji, a former parliamentary candidate; Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Manin Chum Ampedu, and Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensah. The President and government extends our condolences.
All of this unfold tonight as the Ghana Armed Forces lay out the red carpet for the leader, the defense minister, who perished in a military helicopter. So please stay with us. And Tanko Rashid, just a final words to you. Give us your fondest memory of your boss. You worked with him very closely. You were in the trenches just before the 20.
These gallant men each served Ghana with distinction. And as we mourn, questions about the cause of this tragedy are only natural and important. And I want to assure the families and the nation that the Ghana Armed Forces has initiated a full and transparent investigation into the circumstances of this crash. An investigative board of inquiry has been set up to investigate the cause of the crash. The flight data and cockpit voice recorders have both been retrieved. All 8 of the bodies of our departed comrades have been retrieved, and the government is in close touch with the bereaved families about identification of the bodies and final interment.
Forces who have lost very gallant soldiers in this process. I want to extend my condolences to the families of all those who died in this accident.
Integrity is a very rare commodity. He spoke true to power, and that is what we need.
And may their souls continue to rest in perfect peace. It's live here on Ghana Tonight. And fortunately, we have Wing Commander Patrick Nelson Sobojo. He's a retired Air Force officer and a captain as well. He was a pilot of the Ghana Air Force, retired Commander Patrick Nelson Sobojo. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Appreciate you. First of all, I just want to take a recall of what the Chief of Defense Staff said. And he's been shedding some light on why the circumstances under which the remains of these gallant heroes were put in the sack instead of the body bags. Because you had raised questions as to why the remains were put in the sacks. He said that under the circumstance, because the charred bodies were still hot as at the time they arrived at the crash scene. And so they had to improvise. And the available material at the time was this sack that they relied on. Does that bring clarity to the action a week ago?
Well, they were on site. And that's what exactly they saw. Because those of us, as I cannot dispute it. I hardly can see how a body will be melting and melt a body back. But they were on site, and maybe that's a report they filtered in that they couldn't use the body bags. In any case, if they don't remove the bodies from the site, they may be devoured for some wild creatures, or else they have to cut tree branches to cover them for the period. So I believe whatever they saw on site is what they've narrated. Unfortunately, we don't have video coverage of that. We saw a couple of bodies, but how they put them cocoa sacks, maybe that's what they had at their hands and that's what they could do. See, where the helicopter crashed, like I said the other day, it's a heavy forested area. And until they managed to get a vehicle to go there, they had to hack their way to get there. And you couldn't drop anything by air because they'll be trapped by the trees. You couldn't drop paratroopers, which you have. You couldn't drop a parachute containing anything. They will be caught up by the wood. Because the plane fell and it fell through the woods to hit the ground. And it's difficult to use any helicopter or anything to go and do that job. So maybe what they hand is what they used. Instead of leaving the bodies in the open or where they crashed. I think that's what they could do. And I'm not a doctor, but I think the most important was to recover injured or dead. I feel they were dead already. You couldn't leave them on site like that. They have to move out.
But then again, I'm sorry, but there was that also suggestion about the place being cordoned off, which could have prevented the residents, the first respondents, as we saw it, were these persons living in this community, from tampering with the evidence at the exhibit at the crash site. Now we're grappling with the challenge of they taking some of the debris and other items at the crash site home, and there's had to be an appeal, a cash reward to entice them to return the debris they picked from the crash site. How about that?
You see, cutting off the area, assuming they will have policemen around or soldiers around, and they could educate the public to move out and cordon. But they have said it took them almost 2 hours to hack through the forest. Who was going to instruct the villagers to stay away or cordon why? It was a very difficult situation. I hope you understand what I'm saying, that the search and rescue was activated. That's why the nearest truth station was in Kumasi. It takes time to even to get to Boise, then to get the site, and then hack the forest to get to exactly where the airplane is. The villagers are not aware. They are not conversant with these things. Even on car crashes on the road, people rush from villages to go and steal. And these roads are not in the bush. So it's education we have to give the whole country. Right. But as to what they did at that point, I don't think they did anything wrong.
Okay, but let's just do a quick recall. Hear exactly what the Chief of Defense Staff said about the circumstance that led to their improvising and having to rely on these sacks.
In the morning when the aircraft was taken off, nobody expected any such disaster. But from the crash to Accra it's possible, likely, that some things might have been done that were not in conformity with our culture. But I must tell you that those who are on the ground assess the situation, and from where I stand, and looking back, I think that they did the best with the resources that they had at hand.
And when Commander Sobojo, let me establish this. When an aircraft, and I'm looking at the transcribed responses of the Chief of Defense Staff, just so we understand exactly where some of the responses were also or may need further clarity. When an aircraft goes off the radar, for instance, and he explains that it could be as a result of a mechanical fault or bad weather and not necessarily a crash if an aircraft goes off the radar. If it happens that an aircraft goes off the radar, what is the first response protocol? What has to be done immediately an aircraft goes off the radar, if you're watching it?
Within 30 minutes, the Air Force will activate search and rescue. And this they did. But the topography and the area where the aircraft went down was not penetrable. They couldn't get there instantly. Like I said, if this crash had happened Savannah North or maybe Accra Plains, it's very easy for people to get there. So once they couldn't get there, you couldn't instruct the villagers in order conversant with security procedures that cording off and so. They are just curious to know what happened. You can't blame anybody. It was where the crash happened.
But then again, how about the suggestion that, as you indicated, within 30 minutes, how about the suggestion that it could have been another helicopter deployed as well to the particular location where this helicopter went off the radar? Because it's a map, and so you could locate exactly where it went off. You don't necessarily have to land because it's a forest area. You could drop ropes and then have the soldiers come down on that particular rope into the forest, the particular area as well. How about that suggestion, based on your experience, having experienced some of these instances in the past, as you've referenced?
A search and rescue. The fastest means they can do is to use helicopter or fixed wing. Even if they detected the area, how do you get personnel there to tell the villagers or you to go and coordinate? You can't get there. There was no accessibility, was hard. And you heard the regional minister saying that he went to them. It took them close to 2 hours to be able to get to the site. Not that maybe crashed by a village instantly, but of the village. And the villagers helped them to cut across the forest to get there. So time frame was essence, but they couldn't get there. Nothing could have gone there. If they deploy the helicopter, what is it going to do? The helicopter cannot land on trees. What was urgent, the people get into the spot, either give first aid or recover victims and so forth. Helicopter can't do it. Other than that, it has to lower soldiers into the forest. And I gave an example of a similar incident we had in Dabuase. It took us about 5 days to locate, Dabuase near Shama, where the prime meanders. The forest there is very thick. And villagers were taking us further away from the site until one day we were coming and saw the wing on a tree. We had to bring in the field regiment to dynamite the trees and cut them before we could get access to that place. The place was swampy. You couldn't go through. It's difficult depending on the terrain. So Air Force sent a helicopter. What are we going to drop? Drop food, drop bags. The villagers maybe didn't even know what the bags are meant for. You can't send troops. You can't parachute anything down. So these are the obstacles that the Air Force faced. And it's only ground forces who could go there immediately. And fancy them coming from Kumasi, Obuasi, close to the site, and then cut across the site, the forest to get to the site.
Right.
It could happen anywhere, and this same procedure would be followed.
Let's see.
There's no way you can fly a helicopter, another one into forest. Where are you going to land?
Well, that's why I referenced that. I mean, as you indicated, it's a forest area. If you're deploying another helicopter for search and rescue, you would resort to that option that you referenced as well, that yes, they will not have anywhere to land. So you would have to drop the soldiers, drop a rope and then have them come down. Maybe that option as well could have been considered, as some have suggested. But I just want us to recall what the Chief of Defense Staff said in this regard. And I want us to dwell on the protocol for the response time just a little further. But let's take a look at this.
So the closest military post at that time was the team that had gone to secure the helipad to receive the team, to receive the helicopter. And they were as far as Obuasi. It took them some time to get to the scene. By that time, the locals who were at the scene had already started interfering with the crime scene.
And when Commander Sobojo, so as you indicated, if the first response protocol kicks in within 30 minutes after an airplane or helicopter goes off the radar, then are you able to also corroborate a bit further why it took the military that long to get to this crash site or even this community, to have the community members lead them to the crash site?
It takes time to assemble troops at the Ocansey base and then move them to site. It's not that troops are there as soon as emergency, they jump onto the vehicles. They have to prepare, take what they need, equipment, and go a military truck all the way to Obuasi. That would take you almost 45 to 1 hour to get there and deploy and then go to the site. If there were to be, it happened near a motorway, they would have driven straight there, but they couldn't do it. It's the nature where the accident happened. And the time frame to move, there's no military battalion, the police, this thing at Obuasi, except the Obuasi mine security they had. And the nearer police army base with land forces is Kumasi. You couldn't send troops from Accra to go or from Takoradi. Kumasi is very close to Obuasi. And there's no way you could deploy them there. In the meantime, the villagers are doing their own thing. If they are educated at any time there's a crash, don't go near it. That's a different matter. But that's a civil responsibility. Even, let's say, Accra to Takoradi or Kumasi, there's a motor crash. People just go and scramble and take things off. It's education they have to give the public. But air crashes don't happen that often than even road crashes. So public should understand the nature and where the aircraft fell. I said earlier, we had one, Takoradi Obuasi is by air, let's say, 10 minutes. But it took 5 days to locate where the aircraft crashed. By the time we got there, the whole man got infested. I would have to take them one by one and bury them. So it depends where it happened and accessibility to the point.
Okay.
If they have not activated a search and rescue, troops only have assembled in Ocansey to go there. They are part of the search and rescue team.
And when Commander, I want you to hold on a bit for me, because earlier today as well, the Deputy Defense Minister, Ernest Bojajemfi, gave some detail on what has been done so far regarding the black box, and then also the call for some level of transparency to carry the public along in the investigation into exactly what led to this crash a week ago. This is it.
Ghana Armed Forces have already begun investigations into the incident. We have made requests for international collaboration, and we have received positive response in that regard. And so we want to assure you, our chiefs, that nothing will be covered, it will be transparent, and the public, Ghanaian public, will know exactly what happened and the cause of this tragic accident.
When Commander Sobojo retired, I recall that when we had this conversation over the weekend, you had suggested that the black box, we don't have the capacity to be able to unravel and decode the information in there. Would have to fly in the manufacturers, or we take the black box to them. That's the Chinese as well. This is the update from the Deputy Defense Minister, Wing Commander.
People are talking about compromising crash site. The black box is there. Whatever they've taken, they didn't take the engine away. It's still lying there. If they took parts of the fuselage, there are no parts which can compromise the flight or something. But the black box that they recovered would tell us what happened to the minute, exact minute or second. So people saying contamination, I was wondering what we used the wrong word. What were they going to contaminate? The parts of the plastic or metal which fell off? This is not the only Z9. We have others. So any purchase was taken can be more or less seen on the other aircraft, but they were not in crash. But the parts we saw on television cannot compromise what happened for the crash.
I see. But then also...
If the body... I'm not medical. I don't know. Bent bodies go forensic. I don't know whether villagers are added some medicine or something to their bodies. I don't know. I won't go there.
You hear the Deputy Defense Minister indicate that there's some external support that is coming in, or that foreign support as well, which he did indicate that has already been secured to help unravel the circumstances surrounding this particular crash.
The foreign assistance will be in the black box being sent to China. It doesn't mean that when it said foreign assistance, like I said, either they came or it was sent, but I think it's been sent up already. You know, we don't have the facility to break into a black box. And I gave a reference to Air India crash when Boeing had to get the black box. The Indians couldn't open, they had to get Boeing to go there and then open it. That's the nature of black boxes. It's a manufacturer who knows how to open it because it's titanium metal. No matter if you use an axe, nothing will happen. You put it in fire, nothing will happen to it. But the manufacturer or the aircraft, sometimes the manufacturers don't manufacture the black box. They also get them from other people or make them. They install them. So in every accident, be it here, America, Europe, the black box will go to the manufacturer who have the ability to open and then decode the message inside the black box. So I said earlier that Ghanaians should be patient. It's not 2-3 days and the results are coming. And even when they finish encoding, the report is sent first to the Air Force and to Ministry of Defense. And it's not everything in the report which should be relayed to public. It's never done anywhere. You know, so it's patience that the whole country needs. And a lot of people do not understand the mechanism of the black box. They may think it's just like a little suitcase that you open, the information is out. No, it's encrypted. And it's only the manufacturer who can encrypt or decode it and give you what the box said. Because the black box is monitoring every aspect of the aircraft from start to landing. How it turned, how it went, how it came down, mechanical, electronic, it will dictate everything.
Right.
Because the two pilots died. And if you saw the aircraft visually outside, it doesn't mean you know what is happening in the cockpit.
I see. And so as to how the helicopter was flying at that low altitude is critical to that answer to that question is critical to understand exactly what happened. That is, if that narrative by the eyewitnesses that it was flying at a very low altitude is anything to go by, is it not?
I don't think the Air Force will approve or the pilot himself can decide to fly at treetops. I said the other day, the minimum separation height is 1,000 feet from any obstacle. When you are preparing for flying, any obstacle, if Himalayas, the top height, you must still fly about 1,000 feet above the top. No one teaches you to go and fly into hill, trees, or anything else. Your height is selected and approved by the control tower. It's what you maintain until you get to your destination. But why did the airplane come down? That's the big question. But I don't think he was sanctioned to go and fly at treetops. And I also said I haven't seen any tree here 2,000 feet high. I don't think it would have been possible for him that I'm flying just on top of leaves. It's not possible. What happened for it to come down? That's what I'm saying. That answer can be given only by the black box. You get me? They are the only people, because if the pilots were alive, they will tell you what happened. They are not there. So the black box will tell us at which height did they start descending?
Right.
Why did they descend? Are you with me?
Yes. I do thank you. I thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Wing Commander Patrick Nelson Sogbojo, retired. Thank you so much for bringing in the experience as well and some perspective to the conversation as it unfolds. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. We'll take a quick detour from the matters regarding what happened exactly a week ago, but it's coming up next. The New Patriotic Party has also extended its condolences to the NDC over the tragic helicopter crash that claimed 8 lives, while disassociating itself as a party from any offensive comment made by some foot soldiers of the party. Let's take that quickly. We'll go to other matters. Take a look at this.
Behalf of the New Patriotic Party, and more so the team that came with me to this office, we are overwhelmed with your warm reception to our team. I think this is the first time New Patriotic Party has come to your office, and it's rather unfortunate that we didn't come at a good time, but it should also mark the beginning of a friendly and cordial relationship between the NDC and the New Patriotic Party. Indeed, there are certain comments that are made by what we refer to as foot soldiers, or people who are not even closer to the leadership of the party. But sometimes it is important when such unfortunate, condemnable statements are made, both divided, the leadership comes out to distance ourselves from it and also to let them know that is not the trait of our party. After these incidents, we will admit here that certain comments, even from NDC MPP, some are claiming MPP are behind all these things, and some are also saying that they were even expecting some other people to have died. These things are not healthy for our democracy, and death is something that even your worst enemy, you shouldn't even wish death for your enemy. So, Mr. Chairman, if anything came from our side, I want to, on behalf of our party, apologize to the NDC and through you to His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. It is not the position of the New Patriotic Party, and will never condone such activity from anyone who makes those comments.
Justin Frimpong-Kodia is the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. This is Ghana Tonight. We're back shortly after this quick break. We'll get into matters related to how the NPP's flag bearership race is shaping up. After this quick break, stay with us.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle, from the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital,
from the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom,
reporting from Sunyani,
from the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds, the moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust. Impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News. Leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
These are the NPP flag bearer hopefuls who have so far picked their nomination forms ahead of that deadline of the 28th. Kennedy Ohene Japan, he picked this on the 5th of August. We'll put it on the screen right now. And Kwabene J. Japan as well the next day, 6th of August to the 11th of August. Dr. Brian Champon had some young people within the party also pick forms on his behalf. And today we saw a large army of young people in the NPP pick forms on behalf of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Now, there's a clear fight for the attention of the youth in the party for good reason and for the obvious reasons. Professor Smart Sapon is a political analyst joining us. Prof, I appreciate you joining us. Now, first off, how do you assess these early birds in this flag bearership race who have already picked their forms, and then also the fact that they are using the youth to front their campaign?
Our cherished view. The early birds, the main four that have picked their nomination forms, are clearly the frontliners. I'm looking forward to the former education minister also picking up a form, because I feel he also falls within the category of those with the caliber to lead amongst all the many who showed interest in the early part of the year. We hope to see 600,000, as we discussed the last time. For me, is quite huge, and it may be a reason why maybe not all the about 8 or 9 people we counted in the last time we had this discussion would be able to pick the forms. But I'm looking forward to at least one more to add up to become maybe 5. Then we see how the rest of the processes will go. The involvement of the youth is quite expected. In both the NPP and the NDC, you realize that the era is changing. The era of the John Rawlings, the Ahoys, these people are weak. The last time I saw my uncle Chikata, very weak. These are people who have led the process and are ready to impact into the youth. So with both the NPP and the NDC, the trend is changing. The youth is taking central stage, and the coming election will be driven by the youth. So any aspirant that gets more youth to be part of his team and drive the campaign is likely to win the upcoming flag bearer race. And that's why you see almost all the aspirants so far coming along with the youth, trying to have the youth front their campaign and do most of the communication on their behalf. So it is going to be the key decider, the youth.
But then again, you hear Brian Champon communicate in Pidgin. We understand Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's the cost of these forms. There was a contribution from the young people within the party and all of that. I mean, how do you see all of this narrative also influencing a message that would resonate with the young people, and who is really going to have that attention of the youth amongst the 5 persons that you are putting up?
They are all, you see, Kennedy Japan will tell you he's a grassroots person and he goes with the youth. We see Brian relating well with the youth. Today we saw Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia being led by a whole army of youth. We are told it's around 460 or 490 or so. So the leaders have come to the realization that their success is largely going to depend on how well they involve the youth at this early stage. And then when they get to win the flag bearership, they might be mindful of the fact that it's the youth that are going to drive the entire process. And so they've gotten them all involved. But I mean, if you check the numbers and if it is anything to go by, then you can see the large number of youth following Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia gives a very good signal of the lead that we all felt that he was having, especially with this over 400 and so youth leading. If only it is not cosmetic and it is organic. If it is organic, then it is an indication of a very good lead, especially with the youth front.
I thank you very much, Professor Smart Sapon, for joining us with your thoughts. As always, this is Ghana Tonight. I want to say thank you so much for staying with us here. On behalf of the team, we do appreciate your company. I am Alfred. Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.